up on screen as well as on Netflix called The White Tiger. Though the book has been there for around, I think, 11, 12 years, and many people have already read it. But it's always that kind of a book which you want to revisit, because it's a fast book, it's a thriller, it has its twist and turn, and it's also about heartland India versus the urban India in which we live as well. So I think it's a wonderful one of those books which made it international, and was written from somebody who understands both these worlds very, very nicely. So I'm very excited, and that's why even I'm going to participate in this book discussion today, because even I recently read this book, and I was really like taken to a different world altogether with Balram's character, and on the contrary, his friendship with Ashok's character. So what I'll do is I'll first ask our readers who's joined us today to tell us a little bit about their reading journey and what kind of a reader they are. And post that, we'll also take our discussion forward with this wonderful book called The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. So I'll start with Ilona. Ilona, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and anything that you think about this book.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's very nice to see all of you again. And this is, I think, my third or fourth reading room session with you people. And it's just very nice to have you back with in this beautiful session. So if I have to describe my reading journey, it all began in class 5th when I was like 9 or 10 years old. That is when I started reading mystery fiction and, killer crime fiction and all those things. That is what excited me a lot. And I thought this is the kind of literature that I would want to read till I am 80 years old. Until and unless, of course, when I was in, let's say, 8th or 10th, I came across all these adolescent fictions, if I can say so. And then later, my rebirth, you can say, as a reader happened when I was in college doing my bachelor in English. And that is when I actually came across literature per se. Like I was reading everything at one point in time. I was reading French literature, I was reading Paulo Coelho, I was reading Shakespeare, of course, because that is what French literature begins with, essentially. So I basically discovered that there is so much to literature, to books, than just, your murder mystery. And there is so much more to fiction than what we think. I mean, there is non-fiction, there is autobiography, there are so many categories which I was not aware of. So I will basically describe myself as a very evolving reader because I constantly evolve. There was a point in my life where I did not write non-fiction either, but now I am slowly getting into non-fiction and all those things. So the evolution is going to hopefully continue for the next however many years I'm alive. So yeah, that's what I would say. An evolving reader, basically.
That's amazing. Gunjan? Gunjan, are you able to hear me?
Gunjan, you're on mute.
Yeah, can you speak now? Maybe you've unmuted.
Yeah, is it better? Is it okay now? Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Gunjan, and like everybody else, my journey with books started when I was in school, and it started with Enid Blyton and the Noddy books and the Children of Cherry Tree Farm and everything like that. And like Ilona said, there was a phase where I think I've only read thrillers and murder mysteries. That was like one phase that I could not look beyond those books. And then there was a phase where the romantic books came in, all the romance came in. And so I think it just went like, whatever stage of life I was in, wherever I was evolving, those books are the ones that I have read. Then obviously there was, in school, there was a stage where you read all the classics and all. And because I think we are still taught them in school, they are part of a course and everything. So, and now at present, I read both fiction and non-fiction. less of romance now because I don't like the romantic novels anymore that are written today. So pretty less of romance now, but more of fiction and non-fiction. Enjoy life dramas and stuff like that.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Neha?
Yeah, hi. So I've been reading like since the last 20-25 years, and as Ilona and Gunjan said, I also started my reading with small, magazines like Target, Champak, and other stuff that used to come. It then evolved to Milson Boon's of romantic novels and murder mysteries, of course. I don't know why we all are, enthralled with the murder mysteries, because I think that's what keeps us hooked. And once we have gone through that phase, then we think, okay, I'll not be able to read any other book, because even I was not a fan of the non-fiction. But now I am open to read all the genres, non-fiction, autobiographies, because I like to experiment now. I mean, at least after some years, I think I've read almost all the murder mysteries there are available. Or if there are any new murder mysteries that actually gives me the twist on it, then only I tend to read this, because I don't pick up those. I remember I had such a reading phase where during the college days also I used to read books within the books. That is, college books ke andar there's all these books, and now my kids are reading within the novel, because I have to tell them you have to read the novels. They are playing mobile games within the novel, so I think they also evolved through that. Anyways, so now I was fascinated by this particular book since a long time. I had heard it, but I didn't get a chance to read. So as soon as Merrative put up that we are having a discussion, I just grabbed it because I wanted to read, and what better way than to read and immediately discuss, to let your thoughts know. So that's about it. Yeah.
Great, great. Thanks, Neha, for explaining your reading journey. Nanda, if you're there, can you let us know a little bit about your reading journey as well?
I'm sorry for being late. There was a certain glitch here
No
with the
problem.
network. Sorry.
No problem.
I, hey, I'm Nanda. I'm from Kerala. I'm still in school basically. I started to read when I was in sixth standard. I was fascinated by the world of books. I started with basically fiction, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. I was fascinated by the different worlds they were portraying in the books. Then I didn't. There was no preference for genres. I just read whatever came into my hands. This White Tiger I just read recently. It was a gift given to me by my sister on my birthday. It was a very fascinating story. As we are all living in India, it's a very different world than I'm used to living in. It's a political educational book. I just really loved it, and when I came across Merrative, I just grasped the chance to get in on this discussion. Yeah, that's
Great.
it.
Thanks, Nanda. And you're the first, this is the first time you're joining our session, so a double welcome to you. I must mention, we did come across.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
No problem. We came across this post recently where there was this bookstore which was made out of books, which became viral on the internet. And we had also shared that, I remember, and that was in Kerala. So, and I think a lot of people, even Polo Colo had retweeted, I think, where the bookstore was, it looked like multiple books together, and that was a bookstore building. And that was in Kerala. So the moment you said Kerala and you're a book reader, I thought you must visit that store because it's very symbolic in a way for all book readers. Great. Thank you, everybody, for telling a little bit about your reading journey and what kind of a reader you are. For me, I am also a very fast reader. As in, when I say fast reader, I think I like to read something which finishes very fast. I kind of lose patience as in when I go forward with books or fat books, let's say. That's why White Tiger is not a fat book, so that's probably the reason why I'm in this discussion. I also, that's why I end up reading a lot of articles, because that takes less time for me to read. I also have the habit of watching the audio video and then getting attracted to the book. So like, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, so that's why I came back to trying to read, the Game of Thrones books, but they were too long and I just lost patience in between. So anyway, so that's the kind of reader I am. I like to read things which are, let's say, thinner and which can be finished really fast. That's why I'm mostly attracted towards articles than books, to be very honest. talking about this book really hooked my attention. I finished it within a couple of days, and it really was something which I just could not leave, because I felt like this guy is telling, somewhere down the line everybody can identify some portion of this guy. And Balram Halwa is that kind of a character. Of course he's negative, of course he is doing everything wrong in a certain way, it's morally incorrect, but the things that he says probably in the books, because it's really a journey into his mind as to what he is thinking. So that really drew me into the book. What also drew me into the book is the title itself, which says The White Tiger. And I think, being in India, most of us are fascinated by this beautiful animal called tiger. I'm from Bengal, and we all know about the Bengal tiger, and the rarity that only 1 out of 10,000 of these tigers are actually white. And we have a place in Bengal called the Sundarbans, where people actually go to watch tigers, and it is considered to be auspicious if you sight a tiger. So that also drew me a little bit into the book, and I wanted to really know why is it the white, is it about tigers, is it about human beings, what is it about? So like I said, it's a journey into the life of Balram Halwai, and from where he grows from this small town Lakshmangarh to going into the big bad world of Delhi and Gurgaon, which also I know because I live here, and it is truly a big bad place. Like they say about Bombay, I think even Gurgaon is also as big bad as a place, because it truly encompasses the feeling of what you feel when you suddenly come to this big place and you see these tall buildings and you're lost over there. So my first question to all of you is regarding the title of the book. So what do you think is the significance of this title? Why is it called The White Tiger when it is about a small town boy? So I'll start with, let's say, Nanda. So uh, why do you think it's called The White Tiger, and what is the significance around it?
Basically, a white tiger is a symbol for strength, right? So Balram came from darkness to light. He went from strength to strength. Uh, Such as he is a symbol of strength in that book. He was in a small town without any education, but at last he became a self-proclaimed entrepreneur. He is considered as an anti-hero. He had done so much bad things, but he persisted in this big bad world, as he says. Basically, Balram is a symbol of strength in this book, and white tiger is also a symbol of strength. So I think it's the right title for this book.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nanda. What about, let's say, Ilona? What is the significance of this title for the book for you?
Yeah, I feel that, see, like you said, very correctly said, Dee, when you gave us the example of Sundarbans and all, that a white tiger is something that you would associate it with one in a million.
Yeah.
And I think Balram was, in its true sense, one in a million. Because see, there are many people, now he comes from a defavorized background and all, we know that. But there are many people who are ready to follow the others, or there is a herd mentality, you can say. That okay, since my father is a low income person, I probably am doomed to also become like him. I am also doomed to become a rickshaw puller like him. Of course, I'm not generalizing, but then this is the common perspective, that
Yeah.
if you belong to a lower class family economically, if you are weak, then it's your fate. You can't do anything about it. There are very few people who actually go ahead to dream and dare become something different.
Yeah.
And I think right from his childhood, Balram had this mentality. He was someone, even in the classroom, he was someone who was totally different from the other children. He was someone who had, like, even the headmaster or someone, when he gets the title of the White Tiger, the person actually identifies this streak in him, this originality in him, right? And this is something which is part of his personality. So which other people might not have, a majority of people might not have. So I think through this title, what Aravind Adiga is trying to tell us is, this is not another XYZ story. This might look like a story of another low income fellow, etc., but this character is here to surprise you. And he does surprise us in numerous ways, in good and bad ways. So for me, White Tiger is something which is out of the box, which is totally original. And it completely, falls into place with the main personage of the book.
Absolutely, very well said. I think that's the reason why when he saw this guy who lived in his village called Vijay become this, conductor, for
Yeah.
him even that was such a big thing to happen.
Yes. Sense of relativity.
Exactly. Neha?
Yeah, so as Ilona said, the White Tiger is the apt title to him because uh, White Tiger is a rare, creature that comes once in a million, and so it also empowers courage and determination, which I think Balram had the determination to come out of, not exactly going the same fate as his family has been doing since ages. So he alone wanted to come out of this, and since his headmaster, when there was an inspector gave him the title of White Tiger because he alone was able to read and write, and even his grandmother could see the streak in him right from a very when he was very small. So yeah, he was that way different. Even he went to the Black Fort and he wanted to get out at, so he showed those signs right from a very small stage, and whatever the circumstances were, he tried to come out of that particular situation, and ultimately he became, he came out of the rooster coop and whatever. He also became an entrepreneur. So I think the White Tiger refers to his determination and his guts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gunjan?
Yeah. So I feel that it's an apt title because, like Ilona and Neha said, and uh, he was an exception to the rule. Like he decided to not follow what they were telling him throughout. Like throughout his upbringing had been such, what he saw around him was such that you obey your masters, you obey them, you follow what your family tells you to do, and you blindly do what they are telling you to do. You don't need to think. But I think Balram was different in the way that he decided to think for himself. He was exceptional that he did not feel that his circumstances should constrain him. He decided to move beyond them. He decided to think for himself, take action for himself, and live a life for himself. So, in that way, he was exceptional in the place he was being brought up, in the time he was being brought up. So, yes, like the White Tiger, he was also rare. In,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he was ready to break free and see the big world, and he was not ready to settle for a small life over there and just be like his brother, who was happy listening to Kusum. Okay, great. So, why do you think Balram did what he did? Because this is the big reveal where Balram, in the end, goes on to kill his master, which is Ashok. And do you think the reason behind taking this big step was just poverty, or do you think his mind was always inclined towards being a criminal? Let's say we'll start with Ilona this time.
Well, I don't think any of the reasons was why he actually went ahead to kill his master. See, the master was a very good person. We know this, that he was very gentle, he was very sensitive towards the poor and all. Now, Balram obviously knew this. His perception, now we have to understand one thing. Balram's perception of the rich was that these people are people who are basically brutal. They steal money from the poor. They are corrupted, morally corrupted, and also, professionally corrupted and everything. And now, in such a situation, having this, let's say, preconceived notion about the rich, he meets someone like his master, basically, who appears to be so gentle and so sensitive to him. The master goes ahead to give him extra money for his family and everything, right? For his food and all. So now, essentially, what is happening in Balram's mind is that he is in a turmoil. He is not able to understand what's going on, right? And then again, he's being feeded with all these negative ideas about rich people by the other drivers with whom he had to spend time when he was out in the parking lot of the malls and everything. So I feel that it is this turmoil, it is this very complicated situation that was happening in his brain that ultimately led him to kill his master. Because he could not, let's say, he could not trust his master's sensitivity over the negative picture which was superimposed on him about the rich. And this frustration in him that the rich people are so, they are just so brutal and they are just so careless about the other people living in the country. This frustration in him was there since quite a time, since the time he was back in his village, right? So this frustration just kept penting up inside him. And also, with, of course, there was this, like I said, mental turmoil where he was not able to figure out whether his master is a good man or a bad man. But ultimately, I think it was this frustration that took the better of him, and he actually decided to, kill him. And I also feel that he did not particularly decide. It was something which was very impulsive. He decided it in a minute and then he just did it. Also, we have to see that the other drivers who he was in company with, they were also a pretty much negative influence on him. They wanted him to, indulge in all sorts of things. And, they used to say every other stupid thing about their masters and everything. So that was also like a driving force for Balram. So essentially, it was the company and this penting frustration in him.
So you're saying that it's a combination of the conditioning of Balram and his background, and also that he had carried so much baggage with him,
Yes,
that the master can only be bad, he cannot never be good.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Neha?
So I would like to differ here from Ilona, because I don't think Balram, was insensitive to his master. I think he used Ashok as a stepping stone for whatever he wanted to go to the next step. He knew that if he did not, so like, just let's go a little back, have a little background. Just the way he used his village shop to, to dedicatedly do the driving classes so that he can be a driver, and then go from door to door to search for driving, whether somebody is taking and that. So I think he was an opportunist. Wherever he went, he saw the opportunity. So even when he wanted to go to Delhi with to be with Ashok and Pinky Madam, he saw the opportunity when the other person, Ram Prasad, was a Muslim and he had to act. So that also he took advantage of. So this, I think, is the next stepping stone, where he knew that if he did not kill his master, also if he left him alive, then there would also be a problem, because they would come after us. And uh, so he knew that he had to kill him. So he was planning this also. As Ilona said, he had an influence of the other drivers, but he ultimately used his own mind, because he knew. There's one sentence in the book where it is written that time is a major problem, because the drivers have the time all day. So he used this time to better his education and his thinking. So I guess he put all of their dots together, and he knew the opportunity would never come again. He had to kill him. So he started planning and plotting, that if he didn't kill, so everything, I think the background are also being laid. He took the whiskey bottle and he cut it, and everything he had been preparing for that, and he knew at which angle he had to kill him. So he was planning this, and once he knew that he would be killing Ashok, he could take that and run away. And he also had this in mind, that he had to sacrifice his entire family. So I think he was a very plotting and scheming man. So he acted on the basis that he had to go somewhere in life. He used Ashok as a stepping stone.
Okay, said very crisply. Thank you, Neha. Gunjan?
Sorry.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, I would differ both from Ilona and Neha, because I did not feel that Ashok was a good master. Comparatively, he was. And what are we comparing him to? His father and his brother, who were like the total tyrants. So, this man who's come from abroad, from the US, he feels that he's comparatively being nicer by, talking to the driver in a humane way, asking for his family, but that does not make him nice. He's just comparatively nice. And there are a lot of instances that show this, that when he asks Balram, oh, you're getting married, and he decides to give him 100 rupees, that shows you that he thinks that Balram, for his marriage, just deserves 100 rupees, not more. If he wanted, he could have said, oh, I'll fit the bill for your marriage, or, I'll foot the bill and you have a good grand marriage or something like that. Also, for the that matter, he was ready to let Balram take the blame of the car accident. He did. He was not the one who said no. It was Pinky who was upset about it, not Ashok. Then I don't. So that said, I don't think so. Balram was a criminal. It is was more of a question of survival and how he felt betrayed, because Ashok was nicer to him compared to the others. He had a loyalty towards Ashok. He was ready to go to jail for him and everything. But then when he realized that this guy was trying to get him replaced, find another driver on the instances of his girlfriend or whoever, so then he decided that no, they are not uh, grateful for my loyalty. They do not, have any feelings for me. I'm just like any other ordinary servant. So then, why should I not treat them the same way? So then he decided to kill Ashok.
I think we've just lost her. So while she's coming back, maybe Nanda, if you can share your views.
Basically, Balram was brought up to be a servant. He had no control of his life, what to study, what he wanted to become. He could not be ambitious in his life. So he wanted power. He wanted to take control of something. He wanted to take control of his life. And if he wanted to take control of his own life, he sh- he could not be a servant. So what he can only be not a servant if he doesn't have a master. So I don't think he did it instinctually. He never had a guilty conscience. When he was talking or discussing about murdering his master, he didn't have any remorse. So it was planned, consciously or unconsciously. He had planned the murder of his master. He wanted to take control of something, and he took control of his life. That's basically what I'm thinking about that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nanda. Gunjan, you want to finish because you left midway, so.
So what I was saying was like he decided to kill Ashok only when he realized that Ashok was going to replace him, and he was tempted by the money earlier also. But then at that point, the thought of his master being good, his family being, getting hurt, overweighed his greed. But then when he realized that Ashok does not care for him, it does not, give any weight to his loyalty, he decided to kill him. So I think it was more a matter of survival and doing what he thought was right for him, more than it being a crime.
Yeah. So I think it's for me it's a mix of a lot of things because for me also a murder is a murder. So he did kill that guy, let's face it. And it wasn't like, he stabbed him accidentally. He did take that bottle, he did cut it and did smash it on his head. So for me it's a murder because a lot of people are poor, not everybody kills. But yeah, at the same time, I think what triggered him to do that more because earlier than the accident which happens, where Pinky Madam, by chance runs over somebody. Before that, he was pretty, happy with the master and everybody. But we see a sort of disappointment in his tone after he was framed for that murder, and he had no choice but to accept it because he thought they're going to come after him and his family. Of course, that took a different turn altogether, but I think that was a trigger point where he kind of felt disappointed and stabbed at the back by the person he was so close to, and that was Ashok. And like you said, that Ashok also never said that, no, no, why should he be framed for a murder that my wife did, for an accident that my wife did? So I think somewhere at the back of his mind, he was a criminal, but it did not show off, it did not, surface till the time, he was being really rubbed the wrong way, I feel. The next question I have is, why do you think the White Tiger, the book, is structured as a letter to the Premier JiaBao? Why is it structured in a way that it's a letter to somebody who's visiting from India, from China to India? So this time maybe we'll start with Gunjan.
I think it's also it's in a letter form because he wants to tell somebody, express to somebody or tell somebody why he did what he did. And I think somewhere he's also very proud of himself because I felt that thing coming across that I Balram Halwai who nobody would have imagined could do this was able to do it, was able to fool off somebody who was better educated than me, was better, should have been more knowledgeable of the world and everything, and I was able to pull the yarn over their eyes, kind of a thing. So I feel he wanted to do that, and obviously he has seen a lot of the way the police work, the politicians in the country work. So I think a foreign premier or somebody gave him that, okay, this is a important man, and I can talk to them. And I think he is impressed by the way as a country China has done. So that is also there because he keeps saying y'all have better sewage and all that stuff also. So I think it was his way of feeling that, oh, somebody in the world knows that I have brought about this change and I have changed my circumstances. Though I'm a murderer, but still it's me who took all the actions and changed my life for the better.
Right, absolutely. Nanda?
He basically wanted to feel important. If he was addressing someone important and saying something this controversial to someone, he thought that he would also be important. Here in India, in his family also he was not regarded as someone important. He was just someone that was born in that family. He was not someone who was regarded as the special child or the favorite child. He was neglected all his life. So he wanted to feel important, and by doing something this controversial and telling someone this important, he thought he would be noticed by that person. So he wanted to be noticed by someone important, and he wanted to be important. So basically, that's
Yeah, absolutely. I think he wanted to just grab the attention and also tell the truth about the startup scenario in India, because that's something that China did not have and India has wonderfully done well into, but he wanted to show the real picture to him. Absolutely. I agree with that grabbing the attention portion totally. Ilona?
I really like Nanda's point about what she said about feeling important, and this is something that I didn't think of, and now when I think about it, it sounds really like yes, this is one of the reasons. So yes, I would say that definitely. I mean, since he also who prided himself on being this great entrepreneur and everything, why would he write a letter to someone who is not of any importance? I mean, of course he would not do that. Important people write letters to important people, right? So of course he wrote the letter to someone sitting in China, right? And though I think there are two important things here. Firstly, that he's writing to a person in China. Now we have to understand the context here, a little, international context maybe. That India and China have a lot in common. The first thing that we have in common is, of course, the population. China has more, of course, and Indians are reaching there, of course, by sometime we might as well reach there. So there have often been comparisons how China has been able to sufficiently, manage its population, has still managed to grow and become this developed country and everything, right? And so I think that is one of the reasons why this India-China thing has been brought into picture. I think it's an important political decision or political choice that the author makes here to specifically talk about China, because China could have been like India, right? They could also have these problems, all these third world issues and everything. I'm not saying that they don't have, but they have somehow also managed to get out of it. That's true, that we cannot deny. And secondly, what is important is that he is writing to an international, like a not an international audience, but right to someone who is not familiar with the situation of India. That is important because this also helps him in his narration technique, in Aravind Adiga's narration technique. Because Adiga here is using a narration technique which is totally humorous, totally ironic, and full of sarcasm. So you can be sarcastic when you talk about your country, like when he was talking about the sewage problem in the country, about the politicians, about the gods in the country, when he was talking about that are around 36, million gods. I have to, pray to them and everything. So this sarcastic tone is really helping here when he's talking about the country. Because obviously, if he had been talking to someone in India, he would not have had to describe all these problems in such great detail, right? So that is one really good choice that I think Aravind Adiga has made to, dedicate this letter to someone who is not from the country. So yeah, these 3 points. Firstly, that which Nanda has led me, the point, that person is, of course, he feels important. He wants to be felt. He wants to do things which are important. Secondly, that taking China is a very conscious decision because of the India-China comparisons and everything. And thirdly, to narrate a very sarcastic and humorous image of our country, not totally negative, but yeah, almost negative.
Yep, absolutely. Interesting. Thanks, Ilona. Neha?
So I guess the background that Adiga made, for writing a letter to China was that the Chinese premier was that when he heard of the radio that the premier is coming to visit the country to learn about the entrepreneurship skills that Indians have, which vis the Chinese have not developed. He blatantly wanted to tell that India portrays a different picture than actually what is. So that is the main reason he's addressing to him to say that what India is portraying, that everybody is this and this. It is not that behind the entrepreneurship, everything, corruption, bribery, and politicians. So he wanted to give the clear picture to the Chinese premier also. And he didn't want to say that it is all because of the hard work of the people, and at the same time he narrated his story also, that it was obviously his hard work and thoughts, and but it was also because why greed and I mean how he came up in a very greedy and this, and again he has to continuously take the help of the greedy policemen even for his own business. So yeah, he is, as Ilona said, he is he has a dark humor and he's cynical at the same time when he says that I'm sitting under the light of the chandelier. So he presents a very clear picture of, he is not sugarcoating his words, and he's presenting a clear picture that I am what I am because what all the mistakes I did, and because of all these corrupt systems that exist in India. So do not be fooled by it. So I think that is the point he wants to say to the premier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's slightly delusional and in his delusional world, he's the hero. And he always paints a picture that, I'm this and I'm that. And because the entire story is about what he thinks and his journey into from rags to riches, let's say. So I think I agree with all of the points that you mentioned.
Deep, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I was asking, what do you think is Balram's take on religion? So anybody who wants to go first? Okay, Neha.
So here at the same time, Balram is religious person. I cannot deny that. But just like we all Indians are religion at the heart, I mean religious at the heart. But when he grew up and he saw the religion here, to him means many things because he's seen the death of his mother on the river Ganges and how muddy it is. So right from there, his illustration of religion becomes to crumble because he gets that ultimately it is all filth and all. So he also brings a satirical view here that there are so many deities here that I think he's religious, but he is not afraid of doing a bad thing. So when Ram Prasad prays to so many gods, he also comes and brings deities just to show him that even I am a religious person. So I think he perceives religion just as a mere show off rather than actually believing in it. Belief is different and actually doing it is different. So he just at the same time he does not he's not afraid to call a spade. So he's not like afraid of the deities what his actions will be. So he goes on to do that. So religion to him, he just uses it as and when it is beneficial for him.
Right, I absolutely agree. Ilona?
Yes, I agree with Neha when she, draws this classification between, the performative aspect of religion where you're just performing it for the sake of it without any faith, and vis-a-vis when you actually have faith and you're doing something out of faith. So Balram belongs to the first category. Like, even, I mean, it's true for, it's something very relatable, at least for me it was very relatable. When you cross a temple, you have this habit of quickly just doing this and then moving ahead. You don't even realize what you said, what you did, what did you just ask God to do. And it's just a habit for so many of us, right? And so, having said this, he is also very, I feel, cynical about religion. I mean, it's something like a joke for him. Like, the existence of 36 lakh plus four gods or whatever is a joke for him. And he actually cracks this joke when he writes his letter, and he says that there are so many gods to thank, there are so many gods to ask blessings for, and all. And especially another thing, which another funny incident that comes to my mind is when Pinky and Ashok spot him when he does this gesture when they cross a temple, and the next time he does it, it's just for fun. It's just because he wants to see their reaction and just make merry of it. And so he does, when they are passing a tree, he's again making the same gesture, because apparently it's a sacred tree. I mean, you have to do it, right? So he is a performative. He has this performative aspect of religion where he has the gods, like every Indian household. We have the gods, we have the deities sitting right in front of in the house, and we also, when passing a temple, we will close our eyes and do everything. But how much do we believe in it actually? How much faith do we have? That is questionable. And in Balram's case, I don't think he is very faithful in the true sense, because he goes on to make fun of religion, and like Neha said, he calls a spade a spade. So yes, it's a very humorous topic, basically, religion and Balram, I feel.
Okay, great. Nanda?
Balram has a sarcastic and humorous take on religion. He does not fully immerse himself in religion, but he is in a way a bit religious. He sarcastically points out the numerous deities that we have to believe in and offer our prayers, and he basically humors us with by saying that we are always putting our problems on the heads of gods. We are always asking God for something, or we are asking God to relieve us of something. We are always depending on God. Religion is an escape for human beings. Religion is basically an escape for human beings, as he is so humorously and sarcastically points out. Religion gives us an escape route from our problems and from our responsibilities, and he so humorously and sarcastically points it out.
Absolutely. Gunjan?
Yeah, I feel that somewhere he's very rightly pointed out that the poorer people, the people who are facing more troubles and problems, have learned to live in fear of God, fear of their masters, fear of everything. And he does say that you have to go and bow down in front of your masters. You have to go bow down about in front of these 3 lakh deities. So I don't think so he's religious per se, like that bowing, like how Ilona said, in front of a temple. I think it's something that has been programmed in a lot of us. We all do it, whether we believe or not. It's just like you see, and it instinctively, that's your instinct to do it. Belief or faith not being there. And like the instance where he sees the other driver praying to all these deities, and he gets his own set of deities. That is because I think he feels, oh, if the master sees him having such a whole temple full of deities, and they say me having none, they'll think, oh, this guy is a religious guy, so equals to a good faithful guy, and they will not think the same about me, so I have to be there. So like Ilona said, the ability to perform comes in. The way he keeps bowing down to all those trees, temples, whatever on the road, he decides to go to the tree because he thinks, oh, they're thinking highly of me. They are thinking that I'm such a nice person. So he decides to bow down to random things that have no religious context at all. So I realize that he takes religion with a pinch of salt, which a lot of learned people cannot do. So I like his way, his outlook on religion. he can take a joke on that, and he understands that there's a difference between your faith and your religion, which for somebody not educated is a great thing. So
Absolutely. I think this is probably one of those few traits in Balram which I identify with, because we need people these days who are not offended with religion, So he's absolute fit if he was alive today. Yeah, so it's like, you've been asked to fast that one day of the year and sit in front of the deity and, pray. And we all go through that because all our mothers and our fathers just ask us to do that. Or you've been asked every Friday to the mosque, or you've been asked every Sunday morning to go to the church, but you don't know why you're doing that. But you're doing that because it's a habit, and it doesn't necessarily make you spiritual as such. So I think he's also somebody like that only, and I think most of us are like that because we're not really hardcore religious people as such. Most of us, I'm just speaking generally. So I think he's somebody like that, and like you said, he's also okay to take a joke or two on religion, because I don't think he's spending much time thinking about religion that much, and which is great, I think, for a young guy. All right, great points. My next question to all of you is: what do you think of the rooster coop analogy, and how do you connect that with Balram's life? So we'll start with Ilona this time.
Well, according to me, this entire rooster coop analogy is what we will call the vicious cycle of poverty. If we have to say look at it sociologically and everything, right? Because it's again, like I said, it's a herd mentality. If the father is a rickshaw puller, you cannot think of becoming anything more than a rickshaw puller. And if you become a conductor, then wow, you've done it. You've done a great job. You've become, I don't know what, you've become Obama or something. So that's the mentality, right? I mean, because people don't have the means to educate their children, they don't have the means, they don't have good quality education centers like schools and all, where they can actually go ahead and educate their children for free or at a meager cost. And also that provision is not there in India. Even if you have all these things, there is no quality, right? So everyone has this most people have this thinking that our sons are going to land up as a bus conductor or as a rickshaw puller or something like that. But here we have Balram, who is going against this entire analogy. He's giving us this, he's challenging the society, rather, in a way, if I can say, that I I have my own dreams, I have my own ambitions, and I am going ahead and fulfilling them. Exactly what we have in the movie Super 30, where the person says that it is not important ki raja ka beta raja bane, right? So it can also be a low income person who can tomorrow be the raja. That is exactly, I think, a very good example when we talk about Balram, because he has defied all these social rules, social norms of our society, and gone ahead and made a name for not exactly a name for himself, but he has secured his fortune, right, through whatever means. That we can come to later, but he has done, I mean, if he had followed the morally correct path, quote unquote, then I'm sure he would have been someone of great fame and all, etc. So that is what I think, and I think the book is majorly talking about that how this person Balram is actually defying this entire analogy. And he is also at the same time kind of cynical of people who are following this analogy, right? So he does look down upon people who who are so happy and contented in their 3 by 3 house, and they don't have any other ambitions as such. So I think in that way he's a very contemporary character also. But because today we are all so career oriented, and looking at people who are not career oriented, we just feel like, yeah, well, why is this person so happy with what he has? I mean, why is he not wanting more and all. So yeah, that is what I feel. He is really defying every sociological aspect of our Indian society.
Absolutely. So I think I totally agree with you. I had recently, it is different off topic, but regarding your comment on, careeristic and being ambitious, I recently saw an interview of Zoya Akhtar,
Mhm.
and she said that she went to this Bollywood party where every, big shot people are there, and she said that men gossip more than women, because when I went to this party, I saw most men talking about other actors and how he did well and how his movies are not working. And a couple of guys were talking about this one actor whose couple of movies didn't work, but he was still happy and content. And he said that उसका कुछ नहीं होगा, उसकी movies भी नहीं चल रही है तो नहीं चलेगा, वो तभी he'll just dissolve. But he does not doing anything about it because he's so content. And she said that if ultimately, if I want to work hard and if I want to make a lot of money and I want to ultimately be happy and content, then what's so wrong about it if I am content? Because everybody has their, goals, and your goal might be different from mine. So I
Right,
think
absolutely.
that doesn't apply to Balram though, but just sort of telling you this
Absolutely
because I
not.
simply remember this story
Yeah.
when we talked about being ambitious. Anyways, Neha?
Yeah, so here the rooster coop analogy mainly refers to a guarded secret coop where uh, you don't need at least what Balram says, that you don't need a secret police or something, or anybody from outside also to cut that, because servants themselves guard other servants to become entrepreneurs or what, because there's a, even in Balram's case, like he was expected to be a part of the rooster coop, get married, bring dowry. So he had his grandmother Kusum to see that everybody lived in the same rooster coop and nobody went out of it. And so he was like, he saw his brother doing the same thing, and then when he saw his brother also without unquestioningly following the same stuff, he couldn't bear to do it. So I think he knows what the rooster coop analogy is in keeping everybody within the same thing and not allowing anybody to go out of it, because here he also has his I mean, he was not a bad servant, because when I think the time that he lost his coin in the back seat, he didn't lost it, he didn't lose it. He went on his fours and he took a coin from his own pocket, because he thought that failing this would be failing a duty as a servant. So it was ingrained in him also to some extent. How and when he changes is other, the part of the story, but it was ingrained in him, and he knew that. Similar to the he compares it, I think, just the way Ganga is being poisoned, so the servitude, the analogy was also ingrained into all the servants belonging to the rooster coop. So while addressing the letter, he said the point that you don't need anybody outside from the coop to keep you in the coop. There's a system within the coop that do not allow them to go outside. So for him also to go outside the rooster coop was taking a very brave step, because he knew that where once he took a step outside it, he would have to sacrifice his entire family. So that also is an important point, or which does not allow other people, to go out of the rooster coop, because there are family issues as well as they are ingrained the same way. So that analogy is very nicely put in this.
Okay, great. Nanda? Nanda, are you able to hear me?
Sorry, you were on mute, I think. I didn't hear anything you said.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Basically, in India, the society has created a space within the social norms where people are expected to not cross the line. They are expected to grow within that small space. They are not allowed to make their own path, or if they differ from that path, they are known to be arrogant or something like that. So people are always expected to walk the same path within the same boundaries. But here Balram crosses that boundaries. He is expected to be a servant, but he don't want to be a servant. But it is not accepted by even his family. It is not accepted by the society that he wants to be something other than a servant. This is the roaster coop and all. It's being it is sorry. It can be seen in India that if a child's parents are doctors, they are expected to be doctors. The decision is made for them. They are not allowed to have dreams or ambitions for themselves. If they have dreams, they have to break out of this small space. This small space is always created for the society's comfort. This small space is the society's comfort zone. If we cross it, we are against the society. We are plotting against it, or we are not able to serve the society. So the rooster coop analogy is very fitting, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with you. Gunjan?
Yeah, so I feel that the rooster coop analogy over here is also talks about the socioeconomic cages that the society makes, and otherwise also the social cages that are there. Though you know that this is going to be, like he says that all the hens can see that their veteran is being killed, but they make no struggle to get out of that cage or no struggle to save themselves. And that is how somehow it is grained in us also by society that this is the block or the place that you fit in, and you should not. And most people don't try to come out of it. They are happy to live their lives in that place, because I don't know if when I was young, and I think for all the parents the basic thing was government job. That was like they had grown up with that government job in their heads. And I know some people will say no, it's a very old thing. No, it was not. My mother was like, government job, kar le. Do B.Ed, become a teacher, government job. And I was like, she used to make me give exams for banks when I did not want to go into banking, but it was a government job, and it was like, and you realize that how it has been conditioned. It is so deeply ingrained. You come from a middle class background, and that is what your trajectory or your trajectory would be in life. That is what you will end up doing. So, and that is the same with this Balram also, because he comes from a lower socioeconomic background. He will at the most, like how Deep said, that the height of his ambition was to be a conductor, and that was like the greatest thing in his, life for him. So, and I think we see it every day. And I feel that he was able to break a lot of shackles. I'm not saying what he did was right, but he broke a lot of shackles when he decided to, move out of his move out of the coop, because he decided that I don't fit in this place. This is not the place. And I think that's where he decided that I'm not a hen, I'm a tiger, and this is not where I fit in. So let me just move out.
Absolutely. I think for me, rooster coop and the term the white tiger is also kind of connected, because you cannot put a tiger inside that cage. So I think that's why he also said that he feels like he's a white tiger. And inside the rooster coop, what basically happens is that you have a lot of, lot of meat inside it, which is about to be cut right now, which is also the situation that is there with poor people in India and beyond, also many other poor countries. And plus they don't really revolt as well. They know that this is the fate, that I am going to be cut, I'm going to be on the platter of some human, and this is my fate. I have no point in revolting against this. And regarding the point of ambition, like you said, that government job and all of that is so true, because it is actually not there only in poor people. It's there in every sector. Um, and I think a lot of people have different ambitions and different expectations in terms of what they want to be ultimately. For Balram, it was that I want to be this conductor, and he was happy with that. Whereas if you ask us, then we'll be like, of course not, we'll never be conductor. Of course, we have different ambitions. So for him to become a conductor and wear that uniform, and then later on he saw Vijay being a part of the great socialist party, and then he was more enamored with him. So I think his ambitions were limitless, and he wanted to become as much as he could be, because I give you a small example. When you move cities, then you feel that okay, this city is more expensive, that city is less expensive. So when I go back to, let's say, lesser expensive cities, I've had a lot of local auto drivers telling me कि 20 रुपए extra लूंगा. Then I'm like, okay, I mean, he's not charging me like, क्योंकि if I was in Gurgaon, they would say 100 rupees extra लूंगा, which is not the case in smaller cities. So even in small things like these, you see different ambitions. Whereas if I was in Bombay, the person would even call me back and give me back my 1 rupee because they're so honest, everybody, which is not the case in many other cities. So different ambitions, different people, and I think very truly said by all of you. My next question is about
Deep, you're again on mute, I think.
I actually have this habit of saying and then muting. Sorry, I did that again. Okay, so my next question is about what is your perception of Balram? Because he calls himself a man of. Okay, so I think we are live back again. Sorry if I don't know why it stopped in between. So my next question was about. Just a moment. Okay, so my next question was about Balram, and he considers himself, or he calls himself, a man of change. He calls himself an entrepreneur. He calls himself a thinking man. Somebody who sees the tomorrow, and also in the same fashion, he also calls himself a murderer. So, what would you label him as? What do you think is the most fitting label to give to Balram, or he doesn't fit into these labels? He's more complex towards that. So, what is your take on Balram, and how would you describe Balram Halwai as a personality? So, maybe we can start with Gunjan this time.
Yeah, so I feel that he's definitely somebody who thinks. He's definitely a man of action. He did not, procrastinate or keep thinking for too long. Um, I would also say I don't know. See, I can't say he does not have a conscience at all because he did go back for his cousin, to take him back and not leave him at the mercy of Ashok's family or the police. So, but can we say that he has got a flexible conscience depending on how things look for him? It's like uh, I would say he sees the world in a lot of gray instead of just white and black. So he does say in the letters that killing Ashok haunts him even now. So somewhere it does trouble him. It's not like as if he's totally forgotten it, gotten over it, and all. But he sees it more like to a means to an end. He thinks of it as something that he had to do to survive in this world. So he is a complex character because but I think he's also a very strong character because he decides to take certain decisions which he's talking about, and when he's talking about them, he knows that people will be judging him for that, maybe thinking him of as cruel and emotionless, but he does not hide those facts. He says very clearly that his action would result in his whole family getting killed. And towards the end, also, he very casually mentions, uh, somewhere I felt that he's a bit affectionless also, because it was and he casually mentions at a time his nephews or his cousin brother starts questioning him that why you got my mother killed, why you got my family killed, would be the time he would have to kill him. So somewhere there's a coldness to him also. There is no um, like warmth to him also because he seems extremely practical to me. Very very obsessed about being practical. Like he's like I've made up my life and now it's a time that I'm ready to have kids. So I don't know how he would protect those kids or what he would do, but he comes across as very very practical, cold, calculative, and definitely a man of action and a man who thinks.
Absolutely. Nanda? Nanda, are you able to hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. There's a slight network issue here. Basically, Balram, I don't think Balram can be labeled as any labeled as any of these names. He is a very complex character. He is neither a good nor a bad man. He also doesn't label himself as a victim of his situations.
Yes.
He has qualities that can be applauded and qualities that can be questioned. He is a very determined and cunning person. He has nice qualities, and he has opposite qualities also. He basically tries to survive in this world. He is someone who came from darkness to the light. So in order for him to survive, he can't label himself with societal niceties. He has to survive. He has to survive, and he also has ambitions to become successful. So he can't compare himself to a good person or someone with personal morals. He can't survive in this world in his situation by being a very good person. But I'm not saying what he did was right. But knowing his situation, we can't label it as completely wrong. If we were in his situation, he basically does what his instinct tells him. He can't compare between right and wrong and ponder for the right decisions. He has to survive, and it has to be instinctual. He knows the powerful one wins, and in order to get powerful, he does whatever he deems is fit.
Right. So you're saying he's very focused and he knew what he wanted to do. Okay, great. Ilona?
Well, I'm going to start my answer with an analogy. So, one of my favorite characters till quite a time in college was Iago from Othello. Now, I don't know how many of you have read Othello. There is this really awesome character. His name is Iago. Now, he is a villain, essentially. He goes on to create misunderstandings between the main character Othello and his wife Desdemona, and eventually, he he plans an assassination of Othello and everything. A lot of political reasons and all also involved. Now, why I am particularly referring to his character is because I see the same energy, I see the same spark in Iago and our dear old Balram. Both of them have this level of confidence which is excellent, right? They know that they haven't particularly done the right thing. They know that they have faltered in a lot of places, yet their surety, the amount of surety that they have on themselves, the amount of belief that they have on themselves is magical. Both of them think that they belong to another planet. I mean, they are just too awesome to be in on Earth and to be with normal human beings. That is the attitude, and that is why I really love both of these characters. Now, having said that, it is true that Balram comes across for us readers as this really charismatic character who is so sure in life about what he's doing. He's practical. He's doing everything step by step. He wants to do all the right things for him to grow and survive this brutal life, this brutal city life, right? But yes, I also agree with what Nanda says at the same time, that there are lots of problems also. He is very let's say calculative. He is borderline insensitive. He does not really have friends or a family that he can call his own. Now, for if now here we also have to look at his background, look at his childhood. He comes from a family, he comes from a background, like Nanda said, he comes from the darkness, where people are literally fighting for a day's meal, fighting for their bread every single day. So he has seen a lot of struggle. He has seen a lot of tragedies, if I may say so, because he also lost his mother. So all this has basically hardened him into believing that the world is run by crooks. And I also have to be one of the crook if I have to, kind of survive in this world. And I have to make my way through the ladder of success. No one is going to help me. No one is my friend. Everyone in a way or the other is dishonest, right? So I have to make my way on my own. Now, my family is not going to come to my rescue. Neither are my friends are going to come to my rescue. So that is essentially why we see this really cold and insensitive side of him, right? And of course, his being a murderer is becoming like it's not justified, of course, but we can see why he is a murderer, right? Because he does not have any emotions. He wanted to use Ashok, and he did use him to his benefit, and now he's just thrown him away, right? So that's the deal. So what I am trying to say is that his character cannot be fixed in fitted in one box. It's really multi-layered. You have to look at him with all his complexes. You have to see how as a child he was a part of so many struggles, hence his insensitive side, his murderous side, literally murderous side. But we also have to appreciate his magnanimity, his self confidence, his pride on what he was and what he is becoming. So yes, it's a pretty complicated character, cannot fit into one box.
Absolutely. Neha?
So I think pretty much everybody has summed up his character analysis. I also agree that he is a very complex character. I would choose here to see him from the point of view he has evolved. His character has evolved. Like he was a sensitive person, he was a sensitive child, but he saw that sensitivity that didn't get him anything. So then basically he learned the art of the trade, and he went on to do all the things. I'm not telling we can justify his actions, but he went on to do all the things that he wanted to, take him where he wanted to go out in his life. So, but I think there is a humane side to him also when the similar situation of an accident has been shown, when it has happened from Ashok and Pinky's side, and when it has happened from one of his driver's side, where he tried to go to the family and correct it. Whereas in the book it is written as Pinky Madam, they just ignored the black thing around in the hospital, and it became a part of the system. But he did not ignore the family who was hurt, or the person who died, and he went on to make do whatever he could by offering money. So I think he's trying to rectify that, and he has some humane side in him, wherein he has to be different from his master. At the same time, he also compares himself that he was a servant to his master first, but now he's a master to many servants. I mean, or the drivers. So this way, he also compares his photographs, and it is said that he was a very thin character, but now he's a very pudgy character. So he is proud of what he has become. So I am not saying he is feeling guilty or something, but he is proud of where he has become, and he knows he has used the system. So he is pretty much far much okay with that. So I think that confidence is good for him. It is working for him, at least.
Absolutely, I completely agree with everybody. I think let's remember that he was Munna and he ultimately became the White Tiger. So that completes the spectrum of his characteristics. So he cannot be judged with one eye. He has multiple layers to his character, and of course, what he did in the end may not be morally correct, but we cannot deny the fact that he was completely focused in whatever he was trying to achieve in his life. So my next question to all of you is, in the novel, we see India as a character almost, whether it's the rural India, whether it's the NCR, whether it is Bangalore, a little bit of Bangalore, we also, see as the startup hub and the place where all people are going to, especially in 2008, 2009, when, things were not as much as populated as Bangalore is today. But I think that time Bangalore was really booming. So we see a lot of different faces of India. We see a promising India as well as see a very dangerous India. So after you've read the book, what do you think the book wants to mention? Take people think about, what will people think about the book ultimately? Will they think it as a cautionary tale, or will they think of India as a hopeful place to be in? So what's your take on that? So I'll start with Gunjan.
I think people will not take it as a cautionary tale or as a hopeful tale. What we do, and I think all of us do know it somewhere, deep down, is that they say we are a country of diversity, and that diversity, one word which has multiple meaning. Our country is multi-layered. So sometimes there's a huge disconnect also. Because as we see, like you live when you live in a city like Mumbai, You see the disparity all around you. Just next to a high rise, you'll find a slum. Like some place that you have, God knows how many millions, billions you have spent to buy a house, and you look outside the balcony and you see a whole slum sprawling around that area. And that is what right now, and even in the book, India is. It is a country which has two extremes, extreme poverty, extreme richness, and that is how it is going. We have very cosmopolitan modern cities, and then we have the villages. So I think it's a reality that we also are finding difficulties grappling with. Reading a lot of stuff, reading a lot of books. Uh, like it was very difficult for me to understand that a town where I grew up, just some like 200, 300 kilometers away from it, people lived in such darkness, in such horrific conditions, and I was never aware of it growing up. So yes, I would like to believe that we will. India is evolving. It is a country. There is hope, because, like we always like to say, that there's light after darkness, and there will evolve, and that is what I would like to believe. And I think even the foreign investors, the kind of interest they showed in India, goes for the fact that they do believe that we are a hopeful place to invest in, because once the economy opened up, they came running. So because we are an emerging market, people are ready to spend. People are, ready to do a lot of things. So yes, it's a hopeful country. But then yes, the caution I think that the white tiger give us would be that don't suppress people so much that they talk, because there is a point that everyone has to up to which they can take the pressure. Then either they break or they rise against you. And when like I said, the huge disparity, extreme poverty, extreme wealth, but it's skewed, so those who are in the poverty bracket are far more in number than the rich.
Absolutely agree with the last statement completely. Ilona?
If I firstly look at it from Aravind Adiga's point of view, what he was basically trying to do, he has given us these two very parallel narratives. He is showing us a Delhi, a Gurgaon, which is, which has high rises, which has malls and everything. It's just dazzling, and it's perfect. On the other side, he's showing us the driver sitting outside the same mall, who are waiting for the servants to come back. They are the drivers who are sleeping inside the mall, like inside the car with their own blankets, etc. and all. So two very diverse pictures he's showing us in one image, let's say. So I think what Aravind Adiga is trying to tell us is that I have given you two perspectives of the novel. Now it is for you to choose. You choose which one you want to believe in. Like, so he's basically left it to us. That's what I feel. So it's an open-ended story as far as that narrative is concerned, as far as choosing to by which perspective of India. Is it the one that you think that India is going to be prosperous in the next 20 years, or do you think that the people who are like impoverished are going to stay impoverished, or further, will their standards of living decline? So that's what his perspective is. Now, if you personally ask me what was my takeaway after reading this novel, the first thing is, of course, that the entire situation, the entire truth about India was an eye opener. I knew everything. It's not like I did not know anything. But when someone tells you with such a lot of sarcasm and right at your face that your country is basically a poor country, deal with it. So that is when it hits you, right? That is when you just realize how bad the situation actually is. So what I feel is that I don't deny that India will not grow in the next coming years and etc. It will definitely. So in that aspect, it is definitely a hopeful story that India is going to progress. But when I look at it more socially, more economically, I feel that the gaps between the haves and have-nots is not going to be bridged so soon. So in that sense, it is a cautionary tale, like Gunjan also very correctly mentioned, that the more you try a person the more you test the limits of a person, the more you are actually putting yourself in danger, because that person can explode, that person can just go rogue, right? So I think it's both. It's a bit of both that I get from the story. It is giving us a caution that you really need to do something about the have and have not situation in India, and it is also telling us at the same time that India is doing well, and India will do well in the coming days.
Absolutely, very well put, Ilona. Nanda?
Uh, this story is told from the perspective of Balram, who is at the bottom of the social ladder created by the society. So it's from a poor man's perspective that we are seeing India. So we are seeing India at its worst and its best. It's the two extremes, the richest and the poorest. So basically, India in the future can be hopeful. That is clear from the author's writings. But in this era, there is a very large disparity between rich and poor. Basically, there are two types of people. There are masters and there are servants. If you are a servant, then you have a master, and if you are a master, you will have a servant. There are basically two types of people. So in this society, if you are a servant, you are considered only worthy of being a servant. You are not considered to be as well educated or well cultured as the rich. Money is the equivalent for cultured or educated. So if we look at this tale from the poor man's perspective, it can be a cautionary tale, and it also teaches us to not be completely hopeless. A man can break, yes, a man can break when he is stretched up to his breaking point, but he can also rise from the ashes. He can also become a self-proclaimed entrepreneur like Balram, but he can also become a murderer like Balram. So the two perspectives are shown by the author. So I like to think that this tale can be seen as a hopeful one for the future of India. For the sake of India, I think I like to see it as a hopeful tale.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nanda. Neha?
Yeah. So I guess this novel mostly is a cautionary one rather than a hopeful one. I don't know. I did not get any hopes because Aravind Adiga states the basic loopholes that exist. To become an entrepreneur, it is not easy. You have to bribe at each stage. So this, and even though Balram is a successful entrepreneur, we all know how he became and what all it took him to get there. Plus, he shows the corrupt political system that exists in India, which is existing now. Also, we all are aware of that, so we can't, tend to have a blind eye towards that. Not only bribe also exists. Everything exists. So he has not done a fictional story here, but this is the actual story wherein the landlords and the feudal system exist, and everybody bribes their way because they are also stealing from the coal mines, that is also stealing from the government coffins, and then again they have to bribe. So this system is very deep rooted. I do not see any hope, or if this novel was written in the year 2008, 2009, nothing much has changed till date. The same bribery, corruption exists, political system. Even for opening a successful business, you have to grease the palms. So I don't know how it could be hopeful unless the youth or everybody, we all tend to change it, which is a sign that we all do it because social media and all has become now. But when in this era that the novel was written, it was mainly a cautionary. Even the main protagonist, Balram, also cautions the Chinese premier that you do not think that India, has advanced entrepreneurship skills or something, but it is mainly based on this, and that is the reason he tells a story. So I don't see any hope here.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you honestly because I don't think he cares much about India, the character of Balram specifically. It's more about him and what he wants to do in his life. So for me also it's not hopeful because he is constantly being sarcastic about everything around him, and he talks about his struggle and how he has come up. Though he doesn't play the victim card anytime, so that's the good thing about him. But he still definitely doesn't miss out on mentioning the fact that India is mostly a poor country, which is also true. When I saw Slumdog Millionaire back in 2007 or 8, I remember being very angry because I told everybody that, listen, India is not just this where a small little guy comes from this slum and he's covered all in whatever, he jumps directly into shit, and he jumps up from that, and the trailer has it, and the police is corrupt. And I was like, how can you celebrate this movie? Because for me that movie was showing India in a very bad light. But now that I'm more matured and I read this book, I told myself, listen, this is the truth and this is what happens. So do not be uncomfortable about it. You might be living in like good places, but most of India is not. And he describes himself as darkest of dark places. He was the poorest of poor. So he must have taken a lot of, he's gone through a lot, which we sitting here cannot even imagine what kind of struggles he must have gone through. So for me also, it definitely shows the uglier side of India. And let's be honest, that is also the truth, probably more true than what we are living right now. Sorry. So the next question I have quickly for all of you is, if you had to explore the character of Pinky Madam, what more would you want the writer to write about her? Because we don't see much of her. We see very less of her, and whatever we see of her, we kind of like her, and then some things we don't dislike her. So I think it's a very undercooked character for me as well. So what would you like more? What would you have liked more for Aravind to write about Pinky Madam? So we start with Neha this time.
Yeah. So I think the character of Pinky Madam is very underrated, or I think she was shown as basically someone to be not interested to be living in India. She just came because the promise that Ashok had made that they will be visiting their family and going back to America. So that is what she was. She was maybe born and brought up in America, and she was interested only to go back to America. Whatever she did, she was interested to go back in America. Having said that, I think she doesn't like the way people treat the servants or something, and she has an anger to it. But she also made a mockery of, I think, the characters of half baked. When he called himself a half baked, at that time he called himself a half baked Indian. So she also made fun of them, and I guess the only thing I got from this was she wanted to go back. She was interested only in going back, and that is the reason for the fights. And she wanted a good time. So when she came in Delhi, she just told Ashok that as if the end of the problem would be, okay, today is a Friday, we will go to this mall, we'll do the shopping, we'll go there, you'll have a good time. So she basically wanted her to have a good time. To the other question, what else the author could have done was, I think. He might have given a voice to her, in influencing Ashok to change the servant system or something, because she also then became a part of the same system. But maybe she could have influenced Ashok and asked him not to do this, or when she got angry the way they treated Balram when she killed someone on the road. So she could have taken it a notch higher and told that no, I will take the blame or whatever, and do not do this. But as you said, ultimately in the end she was not interested much in this story. So guess that's it.
Okay. Nanda? Nanda, are you there? Okay, we'll come back to Nanda. We'll take Gunjan's point first, and then we'll come back to.
I think, her character somehow in the book was, maybe because it was from Balram's eyes also, was a very typical character. Some women comes from abroad, typical, like the dressing up, everything, and like she behaves in a certain manner, like how usually the typical Indian narrative goes for a westernized woman. So that is what I felt, maybe from Balram's I because it's the narration, it comes from Balram's point of view. But I felt that a lot of things, that why she did not come back to India, was also related to the fact that she knew that Ashok's family would not accept her. We In passing, Balram does mention that they have fights, and like she taunts Ashok's brothers because she does not think what they are doing is right and that's the right way to live. Plus, I think, when they were abroad, she could feel that Ashok was a different person. And once back in India, she could see the similarities between him and his family. And that is what ultimately resulted in her moving out. Plus, with the accident taking place, I would have wanted, like, I would have wanted him to, give her a more well-rounded character, uh, give more details about her, show her standing up, at least, uh, if not going and accepting that she committed a crime, at least she could have said something to Balram, something like, showing her gratitude, that you were there, you were ready to take the fall for me. She just hands over him over the money, which made me think she's not very different from the rest of them. She thinks that money is, is enough, which is not. Sometimes it's not the money, but the gratitude, or some kind of affection that the person is looking for. She could have been more developed as a character, standing up, and I would have liked that. I would have liked to know more about her.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Nanda, what is your take on Pinky Madam? Okay, we'll come back to Nanda again. Ilona, your thoughts?
I can't hear
Well,
anything.
I personally don't like the character of Pinky Madam at all. I just don't get good vibes from her character. So, what I think is, after reading the book, I realized that through Pinky Madam, Adiga, or let's say Balram, is trying to talk about, those typical westernized Indians who go abroad and they somehow think the abroad is a better place to live than India, and somehow all of their affection for their country and the loyalty towards their country, somehow it vanishes. They feel that we would be better off in America, or let's say Britain or somewhere, than in India. Because why? Because India is not a good place to live in. India has just gone to the dogs, etc. So we have a category of people like these, like they are, they may be middle aged, they may be young, there are some young people and all also, who have this really cynical perspective about India, that India is just like this one poor underdeveloped country and we don't want to live there. We'd rather live in US and we'd rather live in Britain, and that would be better. So I think Pinky Madam is the incarnation of these typical, westernized Indians for us, where she has this perspective of India, that, oh God, where have I come, and why am I not going back to US and to my, to my occidental bliss, if I may say so. So so she has this thing, right? And plus, she has no family ties. Like, we did not see any family member of her, and neither is she so close to the family members of Ashok. So again, another very typical thing about these westernized Indians. They don't really care about family ties. All they care is that we should have a good standard of living and we should be able to live a good, happy life. We should have a lawn in front of our house, and that is only possible abroad, not in India. So that, and I think that the way she has been behaving with Balram, like, she has this really condescending attitude towards Balram, right? That you stink, and you have black teeth, and you are just so unhygienic, and that those typical things. So I don't think that she has ever treated Balram really well. And of course, like everyone's mentioned, the incident of the accident, she was far from thankful for the blame that Balram took on his shoulders. Like she could have actually gone to jail for that accident, right? But she was far from thankful. So again, she represents to me a very self-centered, insensitive, westernized, person in that respect, who does not really care about India, who does not have anything to do with India, rather, who she would just like have this really dismissive attitude about third world countries like that. And talking about what would I have liked more, I would not have liked anything more to her character, because like I told you, I didn't particularly like her character at all. But yeah, I think it was just a voice that Arvind Adiga was bringing to us, that there are these Indians as well, you know. And she has been, I think also she has tried to be shown as a foil, or as a an opposite to what Ashok is, because Ashok represents those family ties. He wants to go back to the village where he was born, recreate those familial ties, and not go back abroad, because he wants to stay in Delhi and do something for himself. So both of them kind of represent opposites. They're coming from the same place, they represent really stark opposites. So yeah, that is my point of view.
Okay. Nanda, your thoughts?
I'm sorry, there was a network problem. I couldn't hear anything earlier for a few minutes.
No problem.
So she was basically portrayed as a side character. She didn't have much of an importance in the book. She was just a plot line to the to add to the accident. She was just a plot line. I would have she was made to feel inferior to the men of the husband of the family she was married into. She was mocked for her style. She was also portrayed as a cliched Western character in this book. It was a cliched character. So I would have liked for her to have a voice for herself, to stand up for herself. Also, when Balram was made to take the blame for her mistake, she was slightly disturbed by that, but she didn't voice it. She didn't voice it very much. And even Balram agreed that he would take the blame, or he was forced to take the blame. She didn't show any sympathy or gratitude or something like that to him. She just she just had a condescending tone to everything she said. She didn't have anything nice to say about India. She was always thinking about complaints to say. So I would have liked her to have a voice for herself, and I would have liked her not to have been portrayed as a cliched Western character. I would have liked her to have appreciation for India, even have slight appreciation for the people in her life.
Okay, great. For me, I think if you take me, if I'm brought up in US, and if I'm suddenly coming to India thinking that I'll be back to US in 3 weeks, and that vacation, time increases, and then I am introduced to this part of India where there is a lot of corruption, where there is a lot of bureaucracy, I think even I will not be very happy. So for me, her wishing a good life in the US and her wishing to go back as soon as possible, I can totally relate to that from Pinky Madam's idea. Secondly, she's being described by a person who has just shifted to the city, who's lived a poor man's life, who's probably not even exposed to as many women. And to see suddenly a woman who's come all the way from US, he will only see the glamorous side of her. He will not see the internal struggles that this person is going through. So I think I think Pinky Madam's character was half baked for me rather than Balram and his education in that angle, I mean. And I think I would have loved to see what Pinky Madam was and what was her struggle, what was her voice. Because for me, I don't think she was completely in vain. But she definitely was portrayed as somebody who only dresses up, goes to the party, and has only negative things to say about India. Because the side of India that was shown to her by the family was definitely ugly. And if I was in that position, even I would have felt really trapped in this situation. Okay, we have two more questions. The second last question to you is, now Ashok is described by Balram as a very kind-hearted man. Always treats Balram very correctly and very nicely. He has the compassion towards him. Now, do you think deep down it was all a rich man's sympathy towards a poor boy, or do you think Ashok really took Balram as his confidant? So we'll start with Neha this time.
Yeah, so I don't think he was, real. Okay, yeah, because he went to the US after some time, and he had that tendency to, be treating humans as equal. But when he came back in India, he knew that he had to survive in this setup, and I think Ashok's character is little weak because he was not able to, as is shown with his ex-girlfriend also, because even she said that you were not able to stand up against your brothers initially, and that is the reason he went to America, and he did not marry the other person because she was a Nepali or something. And the same reason he was not able to, he brought Pinky, but again here also we can see that he is not able to stand up for her, and he keeps on giving her the false promises. So even his brother knows that he's a weak character who would not be able to control either the servants nor his wife. So he's been portrayed as that. Having said that, I don't think he had the sympathy initially, but then he started enjoying the fruits of India, as in, okay, he's my servant, so let us treat him as a servant itself. So whatever sympathy he may or have had before went again along with the system. So he started enjoying that, and he understood the divide that divides the rich and the poor, and he started enjoying the fruits of that. So maybe he was a sympathetic person initially, but then he again started enjoying that.
Okay, Ilona?
Well, I feel that what started out between Ashok and Balram was actually, a rich man sympathy, because there was a time when, Ashok was asking him all sorts of questions, like, how have you been educated, your family, and oh my God, your family is so poor, then giving him money on account of his marriage and everything. So it did definitely start out as a rich man sympathy, but we also have to look at Ashok's perspective. Now, I do agree with Neha when she says that his character was a little weak. Definitely, he did not have the decision making ability in him, sure. But he was basically alone. His girlfriend had basically left him, and he was not in good terms with his family because he did not share the same mentality that his family had. This rich landlordish attitude. He did not share that, so he was basically alone, no one there to essentially understand his point of view, right? So in such a situation, it was Balram that he could take as his confidant. And I think that is perfectly natural. I mean, when you have someone to listen to you, you would rather grab that that opportunity to talk to anyone in times of need when you're alone, rather than just sulking all by yourself. So yes, that's what I think. It's basically a relationship which has evolved, I would say. It started out surely as a rich man sympathy, and it kind of ended with like Ashok making him Balram his confidant. That's how it is.
Okay. Gunjan?
Sorry. So I personally feel that it maybe it was sympathy, maybe it was in the beginning a little feel good that I can do this, because if you have crores and you spend spare $100, that does not make you a good man in my eyes. So no, I just felt that okay, I'm behaving. But there were two instances where I felt that Ashok was very typically coming from where we Indians usually come from. He was like when his wife tells him, let's go back to the US, he says, you won't go get servants over there. He's right, you get help over there for which you have to pay a human's wage. not like how you get servants over here. So there's a difference. There's help there and there's servants here. And then there's a time in the car. There's one situation in the car where he wants to drive, and they exchange places. And immediately his brother says, "Oh, it's not done over here. Let him drive." And he immediately goes like, "Yes, yes, yeah, this is not comfortable. Let the driver drive." So he gets it. He's particular that those norms that have been set, that this is what the servant can do and this is what the master can do, is okay. Because unfortunately, I have not seen a lot of Westerners have a bad attitude towards the help or the so-called servants. But in India, I see it every day. Like for a simple instance, when I told my driver used to come to give us the keys every or take the keys from us every morning, and I used to tell my son, you either do Jay or you shake hands and do good morning. So he used to do shake hands. I was told, don't let him, shake hands with the driver. They are dirty hands. How are they dirty? Kindly explain. So this is more of an Indian thing, because I've seen a lot of Westerners come in and they are always polite to the help or to the whoever is serving them. You see it in restaurants. How many people say please and thank you to the waiter? It's his job, na? Right? And you don't even want to tip them. So it's like I did not like Ashok's character. I could not warm up to him. I just felt that, like how Neha said, that his sympathy was there for a small time being, and then it was like he took it as his birthright that Balram is supposed to be loyal to him, and that is his birthright because Ashok is his master. Balram is should like give his life for him, and that's okay because he's the master. So no, I don't think so. He ever took him as a confidant. Confidant would have be a wrong word completely.
All right, great. Nanda? Nanda, can you hear us? Okay, so I think we'll wait for her to come back, but I totally agree with all of you. I think what I also feel is that Ashok saw a little bit of himself in Balram, because Balram was also struggling, and he was also, in a lot of pressure from his wife on one side and his family on the other side, and he certainly saw that corruption in everybody. So he was also not feeling his own a little bit, and plus he doesn't have a. I don't think he has a voice of his own too much, and he kind of crumbles under pressure. So I think now he suddenly sees this guy who's always polite to him and doing a lot of things for him. So I think that's the reason why he saw somebody who can finally is talking politely to him. So I think that's why he kind of took a bit of liking towards this guy, and like you said, giving 100 rupees to him. Now, what is politeness to us here in India is actually a normal thing to do probably in the US, because they will always say a thank you to you, which is like at the tip of their tongue. They don't really always. So when we say oh good, they actually say excellent, which is their normal way of saying. So what we are actually seeing kindness in Ashok is probably a very normal thing to do to anybody who is polite to you. So I think it's a very American thing to do, what he was probably doing, and because he lived there so many years. So definitely not a confidant, but definitely somebody who he took a liking into, because he identified with that person, because he was also riding the same boat, I felt. Nanda, your views?
Basically, Ashok was a very influenced man. He would easily be influenced by someone or something. He was basically very easy to influence. So he was curious about Balram's living situations. He was basically brought up in money. He didn't. He went to the US. He studied there. He didn't have any hardships in his life regarding money. So he was curious about Balram's living situations, because he was a poor man. He could ask him about things that he didn't know or he didn't experience. So basically, I think it was a rich man's sympathy. I don't think he made him a confidant. He just was curious about Balram's lifestyles, and he was also not very respected in his own family. In his own family, he was not very much respected because of his attitude towards other human beings. So he felt respected and wanted because of Balram's loyalty and his because of his respective career. So Ashok basically felt validated by Balram's behavior towards him.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the poverty in India is a matter of exhaust. It's looked at as exotic India for a lot of foreigners. So I think when you said curiosity is probably that's what they come to India to see a lot of times. Whenever you think of India, you think of those camels. You don't think of high rises when you think of India, or you think of Himalayas. So I think the exoticity or whatever that word is caught Ashok's attention.
Yeah, and that's very true. I mean, the poor person is actually becoming a spectacle for these people, because I don't know whether you remember, but in the book there are some times when Balram mispronounces a few words. So Ashok and Pinky make him repeat
Yes.
that, and then they very condescendingly tell him, "This is not the pronunciation, Balram." But of course, we understand you are not educated. How will you know? So
Yeah.
this spectacle that they create around poor people, it's just laughable, according to me.
But Ilona, the our obsession with the English language is so much that we don't even do it to poor people. We do it to our
Yes,
contemporaries also. I have seen
right.
people make somebody fun of somebody for saying generally and journally, like interchanging the word. Is it such a big thing? If I mispronounced a word in Hindi, most people will just correct me. Nobody will laugh at me unless it's that, something like that. But we get so concerned about the English language, it has to be perfect pronunciation and everything. And I
Yeah.
think it's the kind of emphasis we lay on that language.
Yeah.
So bothered. We do because we have a chip on our shoulder. We want to know ki, we are pronouncing this word correctly. We are very concerned. People Google to see pronunciation. I don't know if anyone ever does it for a Hindi word.
No,
So
but mispronouncing Hindi words is cool. No, I mean that shows that okay, no, you are westernized and everything. But the moment you mispronounce an English word, you are somehow not educated enough. It's like a sacrilege, a paradoxical
And I
world.
think also the perception is also something which a lot of people think about India. Like I've seen foreigners think either of them. Either they think India is about desert and camels, India is about just Himalayas, or India is about a lot of traffic. Like a lot of traffic. When they see these movies, they think about Mumbai and they think a lot of traffic. So
Or a lot of cows.
a lot of cows on the street. Yes. So one
If
of
you
my
have seen
bosses
Eat,
once
Pray,
said,
Love, I mean that's what the movie is about. When they go
yes.
to India, there is traffic and there are cows.
Pradeep, you have to thank Slumdog Millionaire for that.
Right.
Because my brother was working for this MNC and this guy came from abroad. And my brother just casually asked him, what did you do after work the other day? And he goes on to list. I went to Dhobi Talao, I went to the slum, Dharavi, this, that. My brother's like, what? What have you been doing? So then the next off he had, my brother took him and he said, I took him to show him Antilla and all the fancy places over here. He said, you saw one side of India, now see the other, side of India also. But these are what the movies and the books have done to us. People only want to read about poverty, about the how people are surviving over here. I read one article on child trafficking, and it said that abroad there's a demand for sorry, but that's the word that was used. I have no other word for
That's
brown skinned children or darker skinned children. So when kids are stolen, if the kid is brown skinned or darker skinned, they are sent abroad for adoption. They are sold for adoption abroad because that's the demand over there. And the lighter skinned kids are maimed or harmed, and then they are made to beg on the streets in India. Just imagine a demand for darker skinned kids to adopt. What does it show?
I think that's what they show in the movie Lion as well, where Nicole Kidman and her husband adopts this child, and he grows up to be Dev Patel, of course. But this child was like he comes from a very small place and he gets lost, and he takes a train, and the train reaches Howrah. And from there, he goes to this adoption house. From there, this Australian couple picks him up. They never show that they are, for brown skin, like you're saying, but they do come all the way. They do contact all the way to India to adopt a, brown skinned child who's 5 years old barely. So yeah, you're right. One of my bosses, who was also Australian, he said that he has a perception of India being this full of pollution, lots of cars, unruly traffic, and lots of cows on the street. That's what all India is all about. And I told him once that I need a week off because I'm going to the mountains. And he said, "Oh, India has mountains?" And I said, "Have you heard of Himalayas?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah,
Lord.
of course." So it's very funny what foreigners think about India sometimes. Anyways, so our last question, and most importantly, is what are your expectations from the movie that's coming up on Netflix, also by the same name, which is The White Tiger? And what would you like Netflix to keep or remove in the movie? So I'll start with Nanda this time.
I just want Balram to be portrayed as Balram. I don't want the movies portraying him as a hero or as a victim of the situation. I don't want him being played as a victim in the movie. I just want him to be the real Balram as shown in the movie. In Bollywood movies, heroes are always shown as someone who are just everything they do is right. They can't do anything wrong. But in this movie, he's not a hero. He's a human being. I want him to be portrayed as a human being in this movie. I am just hoping it will be a movie that does justice to the character in the book. I'm just hoping it would.
Well, good news for you is that it's not a Bollywood movie. It is a Netflix US production. So it'll definitely, I'm pretty hopeful that it'll do well. And like you said, it'll not portray him as some hero or villain for that matter. All right. Great. Thanks, Nanda. Neha?
So, as you said, if the movie is being made for the US segment, again, I think there will be lots of everything will be overpopulated. I mean, it will be, if the traffic is there, they will be showing huge amount of traffic. It will be a disparity. For that, I'm sure. Whatever is written in the novel, it will be tenfold times shown. The poverty, the pollution, the corruption, everything will be overblown and shown, because it is again segmenting for that area. I think the last serial that came out in the Netflix was also on the Suitable Boy. That was also for the British people segment. So I think even the English phrases and everything will be done for that segment. As for characterization of Balram, I think that will also be shown as, he's some overblown proportionate. I'm sure they will not be portraying it as it is, but they'll be overblowing it. I'm sure for that, because they have to add drama to it, and they'll be doing it in full-fledged.
Okay, great. Ilona?
Well, Neha has mostly echoed all my fears, because I am also really worried that this is going to turn out into another Slumdog Millionaire, and I hope it does not. I mean, I know that the book anyway talks about a lot of negativity in India, and the whites should be happy with that and not over exaggerate. That is just my thing. But apart from that, I really have a lot of expectations from Balram's character. Definitely. Um, like, he has to be portrayed as this multi-dimensional, multi-layered character, and I hope it is someone who can really act well. That is just my thing. So I think because he's the most important character, he needs to be perfect. I'm not really worried about Pinky Madam, because like I told you, I don't like her. And for Ashok, I think Ashok is a pretty simple character to act also. I mean, he's not that complicated anyway, so he that can be managed. So my greatest worry is about Balram and the picturization of India, how they do it, and whether they are showing the story with all its contradictions and multi layers and everything. I don't care if they omit. Of course they will probably have to omit some parts of the story. They can't show the entire book. That's upon the director to decide, and that's upon his creativity. I just hope that the essence of the story does not vanish. That's just it.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Deep, but I do you realize why they pick up these type of books to be portraying? Because this is actually portraying India in a very bad state,
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
pick up these type of books especially to glorify whatever they have in mind. So do not expect too much.
yeah. I know. I shouldn't, I
Because the
think.
poverty is exotic for them. That's what they
Yes,
want to.
again, exotic. Right.
Gunjan?
So So you can run an evil laughter in the background when I say this. I really don't care if this show Gurgaon in the worst light possible. Just gives me more fuel to for my dislike for Gurgaon Delhi NCR debate. So that's the evil laughter coming in there, big and loud. So no, I will not say that. People will start giving me hate comments. So, but that said, aside like Ilona and Neha, I'm worried how will they show the Indian villages part and all. Not worried for Gurgaon. Uh, it can't be worse. What they can't show what it actually is, so it's okay. Uh, yes, I'm worried about Balram's character. I don't want him losing out on the grayness that his character has, even for Ashok, because they have got Rajkumar Rao, I think, playing Ashok, if I saw the trailer correctly. So please, no hero giri over there. Just let him be a normal character with his black, white, grays, every other color in the world possible. And they've got Priyanka Chopra, so I'm assuming that our wish for that Pinky Madam had a little more meat to her role would be fulfilled. So that is what I'm expecting, but I'm very sure I will see naked kids running after buffaloes in the pond, buffaloes everywhere, because he mentioned the water buffalo. So I'm thinking that the cow will be superseded by the buffalo this time.
Her again, because I'm sure again her internet.
Live streaming is on.
So, like I was saying, the buffalo supersedes the cow this time, so it gets more screen time now. And is the buffalo stay in the sun? I'm pretty sure.
Okay, great. So for me also, I'm an admittedly big Priyanka Chopra fan. In fact, I've met her once as well in the Meridian Hotel in Delhi, where she was promoting The Sky is Pink. So when the movie trailer released, I had not read the book. I had heard about the book, of course. So I thought she's the main character, and I was very excited. But then when I read the book, I was like, where is Pinky Madam? She should be more of it. And then, so my expectation of having to see more of Pinky Madam also stems from that angle as well. Apart from that, I'm also a little worried about because, like Neha said, it's more for the Western audience. So I'm worried about if the villagers are going to speak in English, like what happened in A Suitable Boy, where they show that the villagers in India are also speaking in English, and that to Queen's English. So that was a little off-putting for me because they don't speak in English. And if you've seen A Suitable Boy, there are portions, there are portions when they break into Hindi, and that's when I was like, yes, this is what I want to hear. And but when you switch to the dubbing into Hindi, that is awful as well. So what do? You have to stick to the original one, which is English. So I just hope that Balram and the Lakshmangarh portion, if they show, I just hope that they speak in Hindi, like they have shown in Slumdog Millionaire also, or like they show in Lion, that they are true in whatever language. Because when they show, let's say, Mexico, they are speaking in Mexican, so why not in Hindi? That's what my point is. So I just really want that they show a little bit of Hindi, and not too much of English, and everybody speaking in English even in the villages. So that's what I want Netflix to do. I want more of Pinky Madam for sure, and I want them to also show a bit of hopeful India and not just the negative and dark India, which we have seen too much now. We need to see the cyber city of Gurgaon, let's say, a little more than we see the Lakshmangars. So yeah, so that's what my view of the movie and my expectation of the movie as well. Other than that, any other points on the book or any other thing that you want to convey about the book before we wrap up?
Well, the book, when I read it, like I read it a few years back, it did have a huge impact on me. So at that time, I had a driver, and I was like literally looking at him like this all the time and wondering, will he be thinking the same thing what I read in the book? Will he also murder my father? No, I mean, I don't mean to demean him at any point.
Yeah.
It's just that you get to that's the thing of with reading. You get to listen to or read other point of views, and when you do that, you understand that how different a point of view can be from yours, and then how a context can be so entirely different from yours. So it was really like a wake up call for me. I mean, I was really, for 2 3 days, I was good in shock, taking some time to digest whatever I've read. So yeah.
So would you recommend this book to your friends and family?
I already have done that actually, and my entire family has read it. All my good or best friends have read it. So yes, I will definitely recommend this book to anyone who likes reading, and who likes to read about India and all.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really a very realistic book in a way, if I can say that.
true,
It's very, and the sense of humor, the sarcasm, the dark humor used is just par excellence, I believe.
true. Nanda, any last thoughts?
Just I would also definitely recommend this book, and I have recommended this book. It's a realistic perspective, and it is not from a hero's perspective or from a victim's perspective. It's just a person who is surviving in India, and it's a survivor's perspective in this book. So I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who would like to read.
Okay, great. Thank you. Neha?
So I don't know why I have a different opinion, but when I read, I mean, I just read it last week or so, but I had heard so much. Maybe my expectation was so much. When I heard so much, it has got a Booker Prize, and you have to read it, and it has been so widely spoken of. I did not believe that while by reading the book, it really lived to the hype that it was created. Yeah, it is a good book, no doubt, and we had a good, healthy discussion today. So I came to know the different viewpoints also, but I don't think it actually, stands up to what the hype was about. That would be my take from the book.
Okay, fair enough. Gunjan?
So I had read the book when it was released, and I had completely forgotten the story and everything. And that happened only when I did not like the book very much. So I reread it, and like Neha, I also don't get what the hype was about. But there's another thing that I have realized reading the book second time. Like I said, India is very different in different parts or different parts of the country. Like I know Neha is born and brought up in Mumbai, I think, if I'm correct. Um, I don't know about you, now. Same, born and brought up in Mumbai,
Delhi.
Delhi. Okay, so then I will have to ask you. I've seen the way people treat their helps in the north is very different from what happens in Mumbai. Mumbai is a huge cultural shock for anybody who moves from the north. Because over here, I see it's, always with a lot of respect and all. And in the north, it is like, they're still stuck in the era when they were zamindars. Because I have seen people do this, like, who have, come, no offense. But like somebody got offended because they came out of their house and the driver did not stand up. And I was like, huh? Really? Too much expectations? But and that was that, and they fired the driver. They fired the driver. So I've seen that people in Mumbai are a little more okay about it. I've seen my friends bringing their help with the child. We always sit on the same table and eat, and nobody will question ki, why don't you make her sit separately? Whichever. Apparently, in Delhi, in one of the so-called clubs, I saw this. There was a board that said that drivers and maids and nannies not allowed beyond this point. I was irritated like hell. I was really irritated. And I was like, and the person with me said, oh, it will be elitist because it is my club. And I said, I'm sorry. Somebody you trust your child with, you cannot allow them beyond this point. It's kind
Exactly.
of so, when you come, like, no, I don't know. Maybe so that is why for certain people it has such a huge impact because they've never seen things like that. But it is that is a difference I felt was very, and maybe that is why though Adiga lives in Mumbai, he set the book in Delhi also. He set the Delhi book up north, not anywhere near Mumbai. So maybe, but I don't. This is what I felt. That is the difference I felt living over here and coming from the north. That is one the difference that I've observed.
So where in North did you stay?
Sorry, I just muted myself. I'm basically from MP, Madhya Pradesh, but I have my whole maternal side in UP.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I have to go to Delhi also, but that's okay.
I
So,
have to say this. I
yeah.
have to say this. Sorry, I have to say this that I've seen a lot of Mumbaikars hate Delhi, but a lot of Delhiites love Mumbai. Why is that the case? I
So I'll
don't.
tell. I was not born in Mumbai, Gunjan. I was born in
No.
Delhi, and
Okay.
my mom is from Delhi. So when she came to Mumbai, she was echoing your sentiments, wherein Delhi culture and Mumbai culture are totally different from each other. So people, if you say Mumbai people are the way they are because they are very tolerant, because we have been through a lot. I mean, Delhi में अभी तक वो शानो शौकत है, but in Mumbai we are all commoners. We have been through a lot, so we are tolerant through all the strata of the society. So that upbringing makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I agree with Neha on that because in the book there's that line that in the mall the drivers are not allowed; they are stopped. Mumbai, nobody cares what you wear. I have
Hmm.
gone in a tracksuit to the Taj also, and nobody looked at me. They were like, "You want coffee? Drink, go do whatever, go." So and I love that you can go to the picture halls dressed up any which way you want, flip flops, slippers, whatever. Nobody bothers. They will not stop you from serving you. They won't stop from being polite to you,
Yeah.
which is not the case in Delhi. It looks like going to a movie is like going to a marriage. Dress up, dress up, dress
I
up.
am from neither. I am neither from Bombay and neither from Delhi. So I'm always a spectator as to this fight of Delhi versus Bombay. I've been living in Delhi for many years now, but I'm from neither places. But I have to say this that when I compare the the cafes or let's say the lounges that people go to, and I see the attitude of people. For example, when I go to a Hoskas social, which is in Delhi, which is a wonderful social, of course. But I see a lot of people decked up to like
Yes.
I will have today. I have to dress up like there is no tomorrow. But when I went to a social in Bombay, I saw people चेयर के ऊपर पैर उठा के बैठ रहे हैं and they are there to really chill and not really dress up to like that. So that's the difference I felt. But there are also lots of good things in Delhi which are not there in Bombay, like wide roads and a comfort of living which is not there in Bombay at all, I must say.
So my mom is also in two minds, whether to like Bombay or like Delhi or hate Delhi. But she likes Bombay also. She likes Delhi some parts also. So
Both cities have great
yeah,
things
right,
there.
right. That's what. That's what.
Like
But
I
then,
cannot stay in Bombay and travel in that
Correct.
local. It's impossible. Have you seen the metros in Delhi?
No, I don't want to see the metros in Delhi because I've traveled on the wide roads of Delhi and have the guys passing on the bike and scooter literally peeping in through the window. And I wanted to slap him really hard because my basic instinct for most things. So, and I was very annoyed. Everybody staring at you kinds of like gets to you.
Yeah.
I prefer Mumbai where people just
Nobody
think
does
of
that.
me as
Yeah.
a human being and lets me be. It's like that is
That
what I
I
mean.
didn't face, but I've seen my friends who are female. They're saying that the gaze in Delhi is
Like,
different.
no,
So it's
don't. Wait. You don't find women going out alone to eat over there. It's always like a whole group or a herd of women together.
So I'll tell you this fun incident before I wrap this up. So I was in Mumbai. My maximum stay in Mumbai was for 20 days for my office work. It was in December 2014, I think. And in that Bombay office, I had a couple of friends, and one was a guy and one was the girl. And they said that we have to go to PVR Andheri to watch Gone Girl. I think that movie had come out at the time, and we'll go to watch Gone Girl in the evening after office. And my guest house was in. Kalpataru. This is in JVLR, I think, in Bombay. Uh, so I went back and I freshened up and I said that, okay, let me see what are the movie timings. And I saw that there was a movie at 7:30 and there was a movie at 10:30 p.m. So I have now lived in Delhi for many years. So there was a girl also. I said, see, we have to go at 7:30 because movie खत्म होते होते फिर 10:30 बज जाएगा, dinner करते late हो जाएगा. We have to be back. And the girl said that no, we'll go at 10:30 only. I said, listen, if you go at 10:30, the movie will end at 1 a.m. और आपको ऑटो नहीं मिलेगा और 2 बज जाएगा यार घर पहुंचने में. It's not safe. And then she said, this is not Delhi. I can manage. We saw the movie. We went out, had dinner. The first auto wala she asked actually dropped her to her home, and there was no problem. Then I understood the difference basically.
and the good thing about Mumbai is that I recently went to Mumbai. That was my first trip to Mumbai. My best friend lives there. You actually have taxis. And you don't have any taxis in Delhi apart from Ola, Uber. So when I sat in a taxi and the bhaiya told me 50 rupees, madam, I was like, what? Is 150, 50? Am I confusing? And then my friend told me, "Nahi, aisa hi hai. This is how you don't have taxis in Delhi." I said, no. If you count Uber and Ola out, no, we don't. We just have autos.
And they
वो
go by.
रिक्शा को ऑटो बोलते हैं and see ऑटो को रिक्शा बोलते हैं वो लोग. This
हाँ.
auto in Delhi, they say rickshaw because they don't have hand pulled rickshaw in Bombay.
Right. And the autos are never running on meter. Never. If you find one, let me know, please. Because I haven't come across any.
No, so the rickshaws in Mumbai run on meter, and like Neha said, Mumbai has people who are like really helpful. When I first came, and I did not know I can't still speak Marathi, but I went and told the conductor कि मुझे रास्ता नहीं पता. Where do I get down? I'm like totally confused. So he said, आप बैठो, मैं आपको बताएगा. And you won't believe, before my stop came, he said, "Madam, यहाँ उतरेगा." So I said, okay. And people were like that, you are lost, and nobody takes, any offense. You go to talk to random people and they're okay, they will discuss it with you, talk to you, tell you, and then you go your own way. It's like not like, oh, a girl approached me, or, like this one has approached me.
Nobody has a time.
It's very cool. You say something, you go,
More
you
of a
laugh.
type problem.
Well, I think to end the discussion, everything said and done, you come to Calcutta, you have metro, you have tram, you have bus, you have taxi, you have auto, you have rickshaw, everything.
No,
More
I-
than
have
that,
everything.
Deep,
next time,
I
then
think
you
you
can.
have good fish and good sweets.
yes.
I am a Bengali too, so I know the value
Oh,
of
you
Calcutta.
are? Oh, I didn't
I
know
am.
that.
No,
So
I know.
Deep, next time you can conduct a live session in Kolkata, calling
Yes.
us all there. So we will gladly come and praise your Calcutta also.
It is the place for books. So
It
We'll
is.
praise it also. Don't worry.
Book Street, I've heard. I have to go there once. I've
yeah,
heard.
College Street. Yeah.
College Street, and there's one thing. What did she tell me? It was called Goti Karam or something. It was called. I had it near whatever that big gate was. So whatever the thing, Edward Gate or some big thing was there. Some art kind of a thing. And that was amazing. I just want to have that again.
Yeah, it's a place for food also, street food. So you can definitely count on that. Anyways, I had a blast talking to everybody, and I really appreciated your time. It was quite about 2.5 hours almost we're chatting, and we still have more topics if we actually go on. But I would say thank you everybody for joining in today. Ilona, Neha, Gunjan, and Nanda as well. We will conduct Merrative live sessions, and if you want to participate in more such sessions, definitely contact us. Thank you, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
So
Bye.
much.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks. Bye.